A 21 by 37 millimeter 14 karat gold case, a 19 joule hand wind movement, applied gold indexes in small running seconds. It does say Hamilton on the dial, but this hammy ain't Swiss. Could something this elegant really be made in America? Yeah, and if you were here around 1939 to 1952, you could have this watch for a whopping $80. Or $77 if you didn't want to splurge for the gold indexes. It's 1:14 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okie dokie. So for today's short little Wednesday episode, I wanted to take a few moments and get you guys up close to my little Hamilton Brock. Okay, I've been getting a lot of questions about my little vintage Hamilton, especially after I just did that affordable alternatives to the Cartier tank video. I think I mentioned at the beginning of that video to check out, vintage Hamiltons, because they can be had for pretty affordable prices, and you kind of get that whole tank aesthetic. And a lot of people, knowing that I have this watch, were DMing me on Instagram asking me more information about this watch. So I figured, you know what, I really haven't given this awesome watch the attention it deserves, at least not on this channel anyway. So let's take a few moments this Wednesday, make a short little video about this teeny tiny little watch. So, okay, I'm always recommending Hamiltons. Always, always, always. Pretty much every chance I can get, I recommend Hamilton. It's like Frederique Constant and Hamilton are kind of the Swiss Seikos in a way. Like, Hamilton makes ridiculously impressive Swiss watches at a ridiculously affordable price point. It's ridiculous how well they are made and how much attention is paid to those watches for them to be able to offer them, most of them under $1,000, which is just wild to me. But okay, so Hamilton, they've been around since like the early 1890s, I believe. They've been around since like 1892, I think, and they didn't become Swiss until like the late 1960s. Pretty much into the 1970s, that's when they totally changed production to being totally Swiss. So for a while there, they were making really clean, really classic, really cool American watches, and this little Hamilton Brock, I think, is a really good example of one. So let's go ahead, we'll take off my Sarbo 17 Alpinist and throw on this Hamilton Brock. So the Alpinist, they say it's 38 millimeters, it measures to 39. So it's gonna wear quite differently, but we will put this on. This watch measures, I believe, 21 by 37 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken, this little Hamilton Brock. As you can see, this is a very, very old strap. It's the original pigskin strap that came on it, and still fits, although it's quite old. And let me get, it's hard to put on a watch from behind a camera. Look at that. My favorite part about this watch is the small seconds. I'm a sucker for small seconds. So cool. And so, as I mentioned earlier in the intro of this episode, this one has the gold applied indexes. So this one was the fancy schmancy one, costing $80. But if you didn't want that one, if you didn't want to spend $80 for the applied gold indexes, you could do without them and spend $77 for a bit more basic toned one. Very cool. Let's zoom out and I can show you how this little watch looks on my big wrist. Alrighty, here's my little Hamilton Brock on my 7.5-inch wrist. I absolutely love it. They made the Brock from 1939 to 1952. This particular one is probably from the mid-40s. Has the 19 joule hand wind movement, has the 14 karat gold case with the applied gold indexes. I absolutely love it. Now guys, I think every watch collector, especially American watch collectors, should strive to have an American Hamilton. Again, way back in the 40s, you could find this for $80. Nowadays, this one in this condition goes well above $1,000, but American Hamiltons are pretty prevalent in the United States, and you can find them for not as good condition, for a couple $100, sometimes well under $100 if you're lucky. And I know a bunch of you guys have these either been passed down from family members, or maybe you found them at a flea market or a swap meet or something. So very cool pieces of Americana. Now, speaking of these being passed down from family members, as many of you know, because I've mentioned it a few times on this channel. This watch was actually my grandfather's, and it's now mine. So not only is it a bit of kind of American horological history, it's also a bit of family history. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for kind of learning a little bit more about this watch with me. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this little short Wednesday video, and I hope you enjoyed looking a little bit closer at my grandfather's watch, a very cool piece of Americana. Now, I know vintage Hamiltons are pretty prevalent in the United States, so which one is your favorite, and do you have one? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I want to remind you guys, I added even more watches to the Time Teller shop, so click that link, shop around. It really does help the channel out a bunch. And if you're new here, I want to say welcome and thank you for stopping by, and I want to urge you to consider clicking that subscribe button. It takes 1 second and it helps me out a ton. While you're at it, you can go ahead and click that little bell icon so you do not miss an episode of the Time Teller. There's just so much more awesome content on the way, and you don't want to miss it. I'm telling you guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with other watch enthusiasts, other people that you think would enjoy this. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time, I just tell it.